to our first panel for the day that will be moderated by Sankalp Vishnu. The panel is Rice at the center of the table, and Sankalp will take you through a lovely discussion with a very accomplished panel. But before that, I'd like to introduce you to Sankalp. Sankalp, please come on up. Sankalp is also a co-founder of the Indian Culinary Agenda. He's an author and the food critic for Times Food and Nightlife Guide. He's also the brand host for Gourmet Passport, an advisor to the National Restaurant Association of India, and a mentor at the Innovation Hub Tea Hub. So, Sankalp, over to you.
Very good morning to the team. And it's very nice to see such fresh faces early in the morning. So let me call upon my panel. Mili, Dubey, please come onto the stage. And a small Mili is the leading and the food agriculture vertical as a director at the PhD Chambers of Commerce. Her mandate is to revive the food and agri vertical enabled to review of the current strategy, operating model, and revenue streams. So a big round of applause for her to be on the panel. Then we have Mr. Deepak Verma. Please come on to the scene. Round of applause, please. Deepak is the domain lead at the agriculture of ONDC. The platform is working relentlessly to bring FPOs and heirloom varieties on digital platforms. Deepak previously worked with Zomato and co-founded Critic, an Agri tech platform. Thank you. It's a wonderful initiative by you. He is one of the members of the panel. And the last one, what I call Miss Shridula Chatterjee. Big round of applause. She is the head chef at Mezze Mambo at the New Delhi, and she is part of Chefs Manifesto Forum, which is a community of over 650 chefs from 77 countries. Well, we have a huge list of stalwarts on the table today. So let me begin with my first question to Ms. Mili. Okay. So, you have worked with the central and the state governments for years now, as well as FPOs and rice brands. In terms of policy, what is it that you are currently working on, and do you have a wish list from the government?
First of all, I would like to, sorry, my throat is really bad, so you have to bear with this voice. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Om and Tanu and congratulate you also, since you are the co-founder for this very exciting initiative, which is Culinary Agenda. And I'm totally privileged to be part of this event. Coming back to your question, so it's so when we talk about agriculture, it gets very boring and it's a non-glamorous sector, as Om mentioned, but food makes it exciting. So agriculture is boring, food is exciting. And very interestingly, food is such that it becomes a integral part of everyone's life. Even if someone is on diet, he can't ignore food. So now, working in this sector and working closely with government, we come across a lot of policy issues, and rice is something which has always been on the priority list of government, since it's a staple and a nutrient factor. You know, despite that it has heavy carbon footprints, adding carbons, but still we can't ignore. So, as we all know, I think the audience must be knowing that the import of, so currently we are working on a couple of policy issues with government, on a free trade also, and on a different ideas where how do we empower India to become more on export side, since we are the primary producer of rice, one of the primary producers. So the lot of requests which we get from industry is, one is to lift the export ban of non-basmati rice, which the producers are really, really struggling, since they feel that there is an ample production, and on the contrary, government feels that there is not ample production to stabilize the price, and so on and so forth. So to stabilize the price is one. Ethanol blending is the second parameter which government is emphasizing. Animal feed, somehow government believe that it should also get stabilized when the production is ample, and it will have an impact on egg, meat, milk, etc. So these are government's side where they want to, why they want to impose the ban. And when we talk about the exporters, they say that production is ample. It will not impact any of the domestic demand for the people in India. So that balance will very much be there, even if they will be exporting rice to other countries. So this is where the scenario is currently. The ban is still imposed, and some situational government gives them opportunity to export. Because we get demands from different countries like Africa to meet the food security for them, and an honorable PM, they have promised these countries that India will come forward to meet the food security if they are struggling. So the situational demands, they lift the situational demand off, but then currently in this scenario, the ban is very much there. So now you talk about the wish list. Our wish list from the government is, since if we even consider government's side, so there are other premium non-basmati varieties like Sona Masuri, Kala Namak, which meets a certain demand which are produced to meet the certain domestic demands. The ban should not be on them, because they are anyways not impacting the public distribution system, which government is emphasizing. So, and it will also strike a balance, and it will also amplify the glory of Indian heritage, rice heritage, and the people from abroad, they will get to taste these rice. So that is something which we are, as a chamber, we are also pushing it. And also the lift of 20% export duty, which is a tad too much for exporters, because buyers are not able to give this price and exporters are not able to leeway these things. So somewhere the other countries who wants these rice, they are looking up to Vietnam and other countries to meet the demands. So this is where our exporters are stuck. If they get habitual of exporting these things from other countries where they have worked hard to get en route to these companies, and suddenly due to export charges they are heading to Vietnam or some other countries, it will have an impact on them. So this is something which we are also requesting the government. And very interestingly, US has also reached out to Indian government they have requested to lift the ban of these rice, since they believe that Indian rice are very good for the international market. So this is where the whole scenario is currently. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive. The next question is to Deepak Verma. ONDC so far has been successful use case. I guess we can all agree on that, but taking purely from the rice perspective, what has been your learning so far in onboarding the FPOs and challenges?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for OM to organizing this. I think the need is to make people aware about what is available, right? So I'll give you my personal example, right? My wife is a borderline diabetic, right? And all the healthy rices which are available are pathetic. If you are a rice lover, you would not like to like those bhusa kind of rice which have in the name of brown rice. Now there's a rice called Kala Namak rice, which has one of the lowest glycemic index. It is white rice. It is tasty. So, and we didn't know about it, right? I spent some 4-5 years last in agriculture. I have no idea that something of this sort exists. And Kala Namak rice, by the way, is not black. It's white rice. And this is a very good information, right? And what is stopping us from buying that rice? There's no awareness. There's no source where someone will, in a dream, will know that something of this sort exists, and that exists from Buddha's time. There's a history of rice. There's a science of rice, right? And this information is not available in anyone. And the biggest challenge for us in e-commerce is the way e-commerce works. Someone will come to a website, will look for something, and then rest of the thing will happen, right? Now, who in this room, even in this room, will look for, let's say, kala namak rice on any one of the e-commerce platforms? I think first step is someone should look for something, then they will get a result, and then they will buy it. So no one is searching for these rice varieties, to be very honest, right? Hence, there are no sales.
And to be honest with you, how would people know about those rice?
Yeah, so that's the first challenge, right? And on the e-commerce, you can make products available. The way e-commerce works, if you search for something, you will get it. You will get more options, you will get better pricing. But if nobody knows that what I need to search, I don't think there's a way we can push that. And so that is a challenge, and I think this initiative probably will help masses be aware about these rice varieties. And not only for India's pride and all, that's there, right? There's a history of rice, but for the sheer health and taste benefits. So today, I mean, since I'm in this job, I'm keep ordering these rices, and every now and then, I've from last 8-9 times, I have bought a different rice, and my kids are like, "Papa, kya karte ho? Har baar kuch naya manga lete ho," right? But last time I ordered Vishnu Bhog, and they were like, "We want to eat now this only." So now my kids, 7 and 9, are not willing to have basmati. Right? They say it's not as tasty as some of the Vishnu Bhog, Govind Bhog, Puljaf, and other rice varieties are. So it means product is good, right? But my challenge is I'm not being able to generate the search. Once search will happen, demand, I mean, you can look at other things. And I think what Mili says, that makes a lot of sense. In India, we're trying to, in agriculture, right? What is our strength? Is it mechanization? Is it large scale? Is it commercial agriculture? No. I think India's strength is in diversity. Right? Sheer in terms of agroclimatic zones, we have hills, we have desert. We have out of 30, we have some 23 plus agroclimatic zones. We have small farmers which are having their own seed banks. So the kind of varieties, the spectrum of varieties that India is sustaining, it's not possible commercially in any other world. Right? On a 10,000 acre farm in US, you will not find a rice variety changing after every 10 kilometers, 50 kilometers. Right? So our strength is our diversity and the kind of breadth which we can give. At the same time, our export is totally dependent today on basmati, which is a commercial large-scale crop, right? So we need to choose wisely between what we should promote. Something which is so unique to India is not possible anywhere else. You will not find. So you will find sticky rice in Vietnam. You will find something else somewhere else. But here you will find everything. You demand it. We want this kind of rice properties that is available in India. So I think as a country, we need to decide that which battle we should fight, right? So there is a battle where we have a wonderful product, we have a uniqueness, right? It cannot be replicated. Tomorrow China, US, they cannot replicate India's heirloom variety bread, right? So that is not possible. So I think, hence I think as a ONDC, we are just trying to connect these farmers to you, and at least on this room. So what we have done since it's more like education first and then ordering. So what we have done, we have come up with few PDFs with some English, some photographs, some history of these rice. So these are not available online, so it's on my WhatsApp. So if I get a number, I will share those PDF with you. One has 52 varieties, one has 22 varieties, and overall there's now 100 plus variety of rice. And I'm always in a dock when these FPOs are asking me why we are not getting order. We have such a wonderful product. You tell us whether the product is bad, and many of times we are putting the blame on poor packaging, right? I don't mind getting a rice in a jute bag, to be honest, right? But so that is not the problem. I think the problem is awareness, and thanks for at least a first step in that direction. Once people will know, they will get. I think they don't even need ONDC or anyone. If a consumer wants something, then that will reach market. And there are enough people in this country to make that happen. And the problem is, as a country, and as what Mili is saying, right? Foreign countries are asking for it, and all of us are on basmati today at our homes.
And we all know that's no basmati. It's just a long grain rice.
How ironic is that?
Yes. So I think that's the challenge. The biggest challenge is that only today. So I would request everyone to try all of these 100. Let's give it a try. Even if you don't know, let's do a hit and trial. Try 5-6 of them. You will love one of them, 100%.
And have you tried anything with the government organizations trying to bring awareness through them?
So government, I think from the government side, there's an effort. I mean, even to get these people on board is a challenge, right? These are not, so finding basmati is very easy, right? You go to Haryana you will get as much basmati as you want. But if I tell you we want tulja pani rice, right, the first question will come where it is, right? Many of these rice varieties are today, I mean, are there because science and technology and modern agriculture has not reached there, right? So in Haryana you will not find any local variety because the commercial agriculture has actually removed all the local varieties which existed. They are low yield, low economic value. No customer wants it. Right? If I want a progressive farmer, I will go to basmati. If I am a progressive farmer, I go to advanced variety of wheat. I will not go to millet. So the advancement in agriculture is killing the local varieties. So now whatever is remained despite of this onslaught of green revolution. And that's typically you will find a lot of rice varieties in Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, right? Why? Because these are all backward areas.
And even the northeast area also. Plenty.
Modern agriculture has not reached, you will find these things present on the ground.
Where there is no commercial exploitation.
No commercial exploitation. So it is difficult to find these producers, right? So from the government side, I think we're working very closely with government SFAC, which is the apex body for FPOs in India, and they are the one who connected us to all these FPOs and all these products, right? If you have asked me 6 months ago how many rice varieties are there, where they are found, there is no answer. There is no Google. You cannot find that easily. So government has done a good work in terms of mobilizing and supporting these FPOs, these farmer groups, to continue cultivating. Some demand is being generated by offline means. So these rice varieties are not getting the price which they deserve. And some of the problem with these older seeds is yield, right? So whatever we are eating, anything which is genetically modified will have higher yield, higher things, higher commercial things. But there's a choice we need to make. Do we want to
and very high GI also.
Yeah, so there's something which we want to, what we want to have, right? Something which has low yield but good quality will fetch a premium, and that premium is also not like sky roof, right? A 200 rupees kg a rice, a 150 rupees kg a rice. So whenever we say non-basmati, the typical sense goes towards 20, 30 rupees kg of rice, right? I think there's an upper side which exists, which is much more lucrative than any of these basmati rice. So if yield is low, if there's no commercial base, and I think these prices will also settle down. So a lot of people complain that all your farmer varieties, they should be cheap. Then my question is why? What we're trying to bargain? These people have saved something from Buddha's time without having any commercial infrastructure. It was so easy for any farmer to shift to basmati from Kalanamak, which has been grown from Buddha's time. We should be thankful, and a little premium will not hurt anyone.
True. Totally agree with you on that. Thank you, Deepak. So now let's get to Shridula. Rice and commercial kitchens. We don't talk about it enough. Given the scale of direct consumption and indulgence it has, do you think there is an opportunity to do more? And what are the challenges you foresee in it, in a commercial kitchen, when you do?
Okay, so first up, good morning everyone. Thank you for having me here. I would actually first like to point out the irony in the question. Yeah, I would actually first like to point out the irony in the question, where we're stating that despite the massive scale of consumption that rice has, in commercial kitchens we do not speak about it. And I feel there are two factors to it. One is, of course, there is very less awareness, and second, it's a product that is so common that in when you come to a restaurant setup, people are not willing to try a newer variety of rice or a newer dish that kind of involves rice, because it's something that people feel ki yare ye to ghar pe hai, why would you want to spend money on that? So like sir rightfully mentioned before, it's the problem is with awareness, and I do not necessarily blame the consumer, because if you see, until I think 1970 we had about more than 1 lakh varieties of rice in India. And then of course green revolution happened, and that was the need of the hour. Our country was a food deficit country, and then now 54 years later we're down to about 6,000 varieties. So the last 54 years we've lost 90% of the diversity of rice that the country had. So of course people are not going to know about it. If you ask me, my consumers at a commercial restaurant setup, they would know, I think, about two or maybe three varieties of rice. One is what you have at home, and the other one is the long, pretty one that you get in the restaurants. And anything apart from that is wild rice or red rice, which has a nice packaging with the organic product ka dhappa. So I think yes, the challenge, the primary challenge, what I feel is awareness. And from a commercial kitchen's point of view, there are two things that I foresee in terms of the list of things that I would have to tackle. The first one is, of course, the responsibility to make our consumers aware. It does sit with us. A part of it does stay with the chefs, because at the end of the day, we do have the power to make it cool or make it trending within the food industry. And second is that the product at the end of the day needs to be commercially viable. And what I mean by that is that the restaurant needs to make profits or money out of it. If it doesn't, if it doesn't do that job, it's not going to last. The initiative is not going to last, and it won't make the difference. They're not cheap at all.
So why not we try to bring these rice into that?
And I completely agree with you, but you know that in my restaurant, we did try switching the regular arborio rice, if you speak of imported rice varieties, for a risotto. And I initially tried to swap it with Indian variety of a sticky rice, but it just didn't get through. But of course, I had to make do with it, and now I have a wild mushroom and a wild rice risotto, trying to get some bit of the diversity into play and feeding it to the consumer in some way. So maybe little at a time is what we're looking at. But yeah.
Yeah. These days you see most of the influencers use one very catchy word, exotic.
Yeah.
You can name these rice and push it to the public. The moment they see something called exotic, they get excited.
Yeah.
Wow,
Exotic,
there's something.
organic,
Yeah.
sustainably grown. These are those catchy words nowadays.
True. Thank you.
Thank you.
My next question is back to Mili. From all the stakeholders you have worked with, are there any interesting use cases that others can emulate?
This is a very interesting question. So when we work with government, we primarily work on the policy side. We are not into the project implementation part. Having said that, we have worked in the remotest of remote places like Mandala in MP, Bhojpur in Bihar, and I must give it to government that they are taking very, very good initiatives in terms of benefiting these farmers. So now the agricultural landscape has changed with a lot of technology kicking in, and so all of us, no matter how fancy do we talk in terms of technology, it has to boil down to farmers. They are the end stakeholders. Talking here and discussing here on this topic, the farmer is somewhere growing and producing and struggling for his remunerative price of the produce. So coming back to your question, what are the case uses? I mean, I can give you examples of the cluster approach, which government encourages a lot of cluster-based approach, because India is a country of primarily land and marginal hold farmers, and when we talk about these progressive farmers and farmers who, they're still, the major chunk is this marginal and small landhold farmers. I have spent a good amount of year with NAFED, where I've seen the procurements. Okay, this is working. So I have also worked with farmers very closely in my tenure with NAFED, where I've seen the procurement happening under PSS, Price Support Scheme. So we all know that at the policy level we are discussing about the price support scheme, the MSP should be this, MSP should be that. But I can still vouch for the farmers who are still in the remote places of Bihar or for any other state. They don't even know what is minimum support price. Forget about implementing and voicing their right for that. So there are still intermediaries who are playing their bit and they are making money out of that, out of these schemes. But then government is now a bit aware and they are trying to give these, passing these benefits directly to the farmers. So a lot of PLI schemes, which is for the industry, which industry is using to empower these farmers. So it's indirectly, this scheme is for the farmers, production link incentives. And when we talk about the PMFME beneficiary schemes, where these schemes are totally for the small farmers, government is coming and helping them, giving them money to establishing, to get into processing part of it. Because when we talk about India, production is never a problem, it's the post-harvest management where we all are struggling. And the post-harvest losses are increasing year by year. So, these schemes are helping and empowering farmer to get into the processing side. And, when we talk about the doubling of farmers' income, you can't double the farmers' income by producing. You can only double it when you are adding value to the produce, which is by processing. So, Ministry of Food Processing is having some very, very good schemes which are directly, related to farmers, and they are talking only about the end stakeholders. Now coming back to the Ministry of Agriculture, coming back to your questions. So we have seen, not directly in rice, I have seen in terms of makhana, the cluster approach had worked really well. The export numbers have gone 100% high when they have approached this, because makhana is something which is grown in Darbhanga of Bihar. So now foxnut is something which is treated as a very healthy snack, and the kind of flavors, etc. So the processing has gone to taken another leap, and so makhana exporters have got really benefit for this from this cluster approach. So also, when I should mention this one district, one product. So that is something which government is also encouraging, and we have seen this benefit in saffron in Jammu Kashmir. So again, because when we talk about the cluster approach, is basically connecting farmer to the backward and forward market linkage. They'll get a better market opportunity, export opportunity. So these schemes really help our farmers, and production, processing, everything is related to the farmers.
And how about getting in the cooperative farming?
Sorry?
Cooperative farming?
Cooperative farming? So I have worked with the largest cooperatives, which was NAFED, and now it is FPOs have taken over. So at that time when I joined, it was treated as like SBI versus, someone asked me what is the difference between cooperative and FPO. So I told them it's a cooperative farmer, from the farmer's perspective, is SBI versus IDFC or SDFC or ICICI. So I'm talking about farmer's perspective. Sorry, it's not my perspective. So that is something which will always, farmers will be more reliable towards cooperative than becoming part of FPOs. Now FPOs are working fabulously, and the new MD of SFAC, she is taking some wonderful initiatives. I have never seen in my career of 18 years who is taking farmers and entrepreneurs so seriously. Every now and then I get a WhatsApp from her with a new catalog of a new product, and she herself is so active and very, Deepak will vouch for it, and she is so concerned about these entrepreneurs and farmers. So the government is definitely doing their bit, and this is the time. And also, when we talk about rice, sustainable practices I would like to mention, because carbon sequestration is something, and climate change, food security is these days are the buzzwords. So sustainability is the key. Sustainable practices for rice would definitely be something where, if we adopt that practice, where the precision agriculture comes in play, a bit of technology, a bit of sustainability is the way forward for rice and paddy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mili. Now to Mr. Deepak. I'm sure you get asked a lot of these questions, but what about the scale and sustainability? Are we going to see more and more farmer communities connecting with farmers directly?
Yes, why not? Right.
Yeah.
So with all these collectivization of farmers, right? They are getting a platform wherein they can do more than what an individual farmer can do, right? So if I'm an individual farmer, I can probably cannot put a processing unit, but if I'm a collective of 1,000 farmers, I can do much more than what a single farmer can do, both in terms of processing, marketing, even production, everything, right? If we come together, there will be more resources and more. We can adopt more technology. We can become a business from just becoming a farmer. So I think there will be a positive trend, right? Let's not be very disappointed that things are not. So we need to understand that farming in itself is a year-long project, right? If I miss this season, then the next attempt is after 1 year. So even if I have spent 5 years, I have just had 5 attempts, right?
True.
So whatever I am doing, since it's a year-long cycle, the time window may look very long if we see from our perspective, but from farming perspective, it's only 5 seasons, right? So I think it will take time, and I think the direction is right now. And all these collectivization, I think we also need to come out of I think shift is needed from, let's not help farmers, right? They can help themselves. I think a lot of our discussion.
We don't need sympathy towards them.
Yes, a lot of discussion goes into बेचारा गरीब farmer है कुछ करते हैं उसके लिए. I think let's come out of that mind, and then only we will be able to respect them. We will be able to respect what they are producing, and we will be able to give the right price. And I think as a society as a whole, as a ecosystem as a whole, we are moving towards that direction. So what I think we are having such kind of a conference around heirloom varieties. I think 15 years, 20 years ago, it would not have been possible. It's not like that these heirloom varieties have suddenly come up and it's a new invention and we are all talking about it, right?
True.
It has been here since ages. It was not cool, as we said before 20 years ago, but today it's becoming cool, mainstay, and we need to stay a little away from too much jargonization, right? Because when we chase jargonization, at times we miss the point, right? In terms of saying everything exotic, organic, this, that, right? We are not being able to pass the right message, which and at the end of the day, it's a food, right? And how many times we will have something because of a social concern, right? At least we all are bound by our tongues, right? It's a taste which will drive real adoption, and it's a quality of the produce which will drive real adoption. Some function, some event, we may have something just because of social cause. As she rightly said, right? Even if a chef wants to prepare a risotto, the quality of risotto is what will ultimately matter, not anything else around that, right? So I think let's be hopeful that with all these initiatives which are coming up, there will be larger awareness on the farmer side. As Mili rightly said, there are a lot of initiatives which are bringing what was not in the market a couple of years ago in the market, and there's a positive thrust there. So whatever, let's say makhana, I mean, a very right example, right? Nobody was looking after makhana. There are even 5-10 consumer brands today there are in India. Everyone is looking to sell makhana only right now, right? So I think there will be a push, and I think chefs and the restaurant community can play a very great role, because you guys are the influencer, real influencer, who can actually, if not commercially, and then at least in your personal capacity, can try something and recommend something that, okay, you have been having this, try this, maybe some food festivals in some restaurants, something. So it will take some kind of a sustainable effort to not look it from a helping the farmer point of view, but more like eat good. I think our approach should be eat right, eat good, and don't help anyone, right? Nobody need your help. It's for your own good. It's a better product. I mean, move from basmati to the real rice and have it just for the quality of it. Don't support anyone.
True. Thank you, Deepak. So coming back to the chef. So I will ask after this question a couple of more questions to both of you. So coming to the questions, outside the commercial kitchens, chefs also are key influencers today. Will it be great to see chefs working with the FPOs and the lesser known farmer communities directly? What do we need to make this happen?
Okay, so I think if you think of, say, 2018, 2019, these were the initial few years of my career. And I remember at that point, almost every chef that I looked up to, every restaurant that I used to follow had started promoting millets and how. Everybody was just going gaga about millets, 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 and then of course fast forward to 2023 where it eventually turned out to be the International Year of Millets. So I see it in this way, that the government nudged the influencers, the creators, the chefs, and of course eventually the consumers so much that today from your cereal to your Asian rice bowls in a restaurant to crackers to chips to snacks, everything is made out of millets. And I feel that there has also been a downside to this. It has, so you know how millets were being marketed. Everybody was telling us how sustainable the product is, how the product uses so much less natural resources, the amount of water that is required to grow millets is, I think, what 1/3 of what is required to use to grow rice. So in the process of promoting millets, what we've also done is we've kind of demeaned the rice. It's come to a point where everybody is planning to or trying to kind of substitute that grain with, say, millets or couscous or quinoa or XYZ, thinking that it's a healthier option. But that's not it. I mean, now with, as ma'am had suggested, there are better technologies. There is the system of rice, SRI, I'm not too sure about the whole
System of rice
intensification, right, thank you. So system of rice intensification where I think 1/5 of the quantity of seeds are used per acre of land. The amount of yield is times higher. The product uses, or the technology uses 50% less water. So we have solutions now. So I mean, we did millets, it's perfect, it's great, it's doing its job, but now we need to also look back at the other routes that we have, which includes these diverse varieties of rice. And I had mentioned earlier it was the need of the hour with the whole green revolution coming into play, but now we are a food surplus country. In fact, we're exporting this grain. So we have the resources, we have the time. In fact, the consumers now are so much more aware in terms of where the food is coming from, how it's made. They're keen on knowing. They love organic and sustainable products. So I feel now is the time when all of us should together kind of start promoting the diverse rice varieties that the country has to offer and get over the whole madness about basmati and just millets.
So would you be interested in holding a food festival with the FPOs?
Absolutely.
When can we get that invite?
Let's plan one. I'm definitely up for it.
Amazing, amazing. So now I would ask questions. Anybody who is interested to ask from the audience?
Thank you very much for that very interesting panel. My name is Gautam Mukhopadhyay. I'm a retired diplomat, and I work now on a pilot project for basically local and sustainable small-scale farmers in the hill areas of the northeast, in Manipur, to be precise. So I have two pieces of information that I wanted to share with people. Perhaps people already know that. And then one very specific question. The information is, I wonder how many of you are familiar with the Annapurna Seed Library. It's a kind of rice library, you're aware of it. And they already have a kind of collection of about 500 varieties of rice, mostly local to the northeast. And it's worth going to their website and just checking them out. And we are working with them to try and develop a kind of catalog of traditional indigenous crops and crop varieties of standard crops. So basically the whole idea of kind of preserving genetic diversity. The second, on the food side, I wonder if you know of something called NESFAS, the Northeast, I forget what exactly it's called, but it started by an ex-FAO person, And in the Garo Hills and Khasi Hills of Meghalaya, they have started these cafes called the Mother Earth cafes, which are literally sort of village women growing seasonal foods and serving seasonal foods in slightly presentable rural settings of indigenous food straight from the fields to the table. I think these two things are really worth looking at because they're on two ends of the scale, agriculture and food. And the question that I have in mind is, I've also been experimenting with growing indigenous varieties of rice. And the trouble is that the indigenous varieties of rice are known by their local names. They'll be called choti or this or that. And I have a problem in identifying those rice varieties and also sort of, also discovering what their properties are in a manner that can be marketed. So I wonder if any of you have a solution for that.
I wish we had that solution. Because as you rightly said, many of these rice varieties, they look similar. So maybe some expert will help.
Check.
Hi. I think there's a book by Dr. Deboldev on how it's on the rare foods of Bengal. He also has a seed bank, Bushdhar, yeah. So he writes very interesting, although it's in Bengali, it hasn't been translated as yet, which I really want. He writes about the interesting factors which lead to the naming of rice grains. And he has also added some plates to identify them. Maybe you could look at that book. It's really amazing. He also talks about different kinds of rare mushroom varieties in that, trees. It's quite fascinating. Like if a farmer who's been growing a certain kind of rice, and that has mutated on its own and grown on maybe on another part of the field, probably the person would name it on his own name or somebody beloved or on the place or something like that. So maybe, I wish it could be translated.
I think I would like to add over here that we at International Rice Research Institute, we have set up a center recently in Varanasi, which is called IRI South Asia Regional Center, and where we have started to document this thing scientifically through DNA fingerprinting. So we started with Kala Namak actually, and same problem that farmers are growing Kala Namak with different names. And because now there is also a lot of focus from UP government on commercializing Kala Namak, sustainable production, and also then marketing. They've already started basically. But the problem was again, farmers were growing Kala Namak with the number of names. So we've started to kind of develop a documentation through DNA fingerprinting of Kala Namak varieties, looking at different accessions everywhere. So there are efforts started. I hope it will come to you also.
Also, sir, to add to it, you can write it to us. I can find out in the government if they have some mechanism who is working towards it. And I was also trying to refer to IRI because to my knowledge, as ma'am mentioned that they have this initiative. So you can write it to us. We can come back to you.
Hi, my name is Shilpa, and I'm here as a restaurateur. Run a restaurant in Goa called Mustard. Big believer in the strength of regional cuisine in this country. And I don't have a question, but I have an opinion on rice, which is that I think it's upon each one of us in the room as stakeholders in the food space, in the culinary space, to be able to do our bit. And I do believe that restaurants, cafes, home chefs have a huge role to play in being able to bring forth the different regional varieties of rice without having to undermine something like a basmati equivalent of long grain, because that's really where consumers pick up their habits, what it is that they're going to follow. So we do need a millet to happen to rice, and what better time than now to be able to kickstart that. I think there is huge amount of potential. The other thing I want to say is that the food delivery platforms, like somebody needs to make a case to Zomato and Swiggy to start to highlight regional cuisine in a way that they don't do just now. It's all about biryani by the kilo and, so-and-so sandwiches and sliders and this, that and the other. And maybe they need to do a campaign which is committed to highlighting indigenous varieties of rice and millets and, all the local grain that those of us who believe in will find somewhere or the other, right? I mean, whether it comes from, Himachal or it comes from the northeast. But I think it's the collective effort of many bodies and stakeholders to start to bring forth all these, varieties, and it'll happen. It's only a matter of time, because I think as a consumer, we're far more aware today than we ever were. So, therefore, it's a great time.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't want to pray that what happened to millet should happen to rice at all. The less government there is, it is much better that way. Answer to you, sir. There's one of the largest collection of rice varieties is done by a farmer in Mandya, Karnataka, called Syed Ghani Khan. More than 2,000 varieties are there. If you want his contact, I can connect you to him. Then Anupam Paul in West Bengal also has a large collection of seed varieties that is there. Plus, there are many smaller examples all across the country where people are working as groups on multiple seed varieties, especially in the area of rice, because it's one of the most used grains in the country. So obviously the amount of work being done on rice is also the highest. But to agree with you, I think there's so much good variety on rice, good work on rice and local varieties which are there. It is unfortunate, like we have the Punjabification of food across the country in our restaurants, unfortunately, that local cuisines are downplayed, and that has also happened to rice being downplayed in those cuisines which is there, which is the worst thing that could have happened. Otherwise, because we have so many local varieties of rice, if by any chance in any small restaurant in any part of the country that you travel to, you find the local variety, you will see the magic which is definitely available there.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm surrounded by so many people who are stalwarts in the area of rice. My question is actually very, very basic. My partner Arpita and I, we are from the food philosophy, where it is the adoption of rice at the consumer level, like, individual people, because a lot of people that we work with have special dietary needs. And, say diabetics or people with multiple issues where they cannot have the basmati rice. So what we do is we go out there, we research on the different kinds of indigenous rice that's available, and then the nutritional content, and to see if we work with nutritionists to see if, the quantities and that variety will work for them. So, we're always looking for newer varieties. We're always looking for people who can guide us in that direction so we can talk to the people. My question is that some of the varieties or some of the recipes that we try to come up with, we first make them ourselves. It's very hard to go on different sites to see who's doing what. Like, even if we were to find a variety of rice which we will say is really good, we've tasted it somewhere, it's very hard to source it. While we will go that extra mile to get that kind of rice, like if I were to tell 10 other people that, you go, you order on the website, you get this rice, then it gets delivered, then, they cook it. It's just very, very cumbersome. So I just want to, sort of raise this question on this forum. If we need adoption at the very basic level, right, not at the restaurant level, because, there are supply chains and there are people, but for somebody like us who are working directly with the people and get them to see beyond basmati, what recommendations would you have for somebody like us?
Glad that you asked this question. So at ONDC, this is what we are doing. The ONDC is slightly different if you compare it to common e-commerce. It's not an application, it's a network of application. Think it like UPI, right? When we use UPI, we don't go to anything called UPI, we go to Google Pay or Phone Pay, right? Similarly, ONDC is a network of applications. So today, if you go to Paytm, you go to My Store, and there are a couple of more applications where you will find these rice varieties rightly available. And the catalogs which Ma'am was mentioning, the two catalogs, one is with the 52 varieties, another one is the 22 rice varieties, all with low glycemic index. So you will find a little write-up, an image, and an order link. So you just have to click that and order that. So around 100 plus rice varieties have been made available right now. So ordering and getting them is not a challenge. It may take some delivery time because most of this is coming from Manipur, Chhattisgarh or something. So expect a 5 to 7 days. It's not a blanket kind of delivery. Expectations will not work here. So 5 to 7 days, it will come from a long chain. But it's readily available. You can simply click it and do it. I think all of us are now used to e-commerce journey. And I will share that PDF with you. So you can also try, order these rice varieties and share those links with everyone. So that you can scan and order.
It's very hello everyone. Myself Vikas. I am a chef and consultant. So thank you so much for all the inputs. I have a question. Can you please provide me the information with all the GI values with a particular rice and how much we can consume in one time? Because the rice is without fiber, everyone knows. And especially supporting ma'am, that patients with diabetes and cholesterol.
Yeah.
How much rice they can have.
I'm afraid I'm not the right person for that. So I think my work is just to make whatever is there to make people available and not an expert. So whatever I know, I have read in this listings and these catalogs. I'm not aware technically what I think GI, this whole GI concept is very new to me, and I only learned it 6 months ago when we start selling these rices. So I will be honest.
Because I'm working on millets, so I definitely want to introduce.
I'm sure ED etc. would be having some kind of a framework to do it scientifically.
Right. So
Yeah.
So it's Kiri's encyclopedia of rice. You ask the question and she must be having the answer to it.
Thank you.
I think we are done with the first session for now, and I hand over to Ruth. Thank you for Mili, Deepak, and Shridula. Thank you.